Alright, welcome back to Homebrew Computing. As I said, as it began, so shall it end. We are coming to the end of this project, and I'm not saying I'm excited, but I am happy that it is complete. Everything seems to be running and functioning normally. And now we're going to actually talk about some of the highs and lows of this project. But one thing first that I would like to cover is I did not ever get a good watt usage on this machine. How much it's drawn at idle? What is it drawing at? I guess was it drawing at boot? Was it drawing at idle? And what is it drawing at full tilt? Really need to know that to see how I saved money, because before I was using about 345 watts of power, and that was the total everything. So now that we've combined it all down, exactly what are we using in our network closet now? 345 watts, I think about 90 watts of that was the actual Dream Machine, the switch, the all the other hardware that was located, and that is still located in the pantry, not the network closet. I won't always call it that, but it's actually the pantry. So I actually get a nice little space where I've got my rack and everything mounted on the wall, and I get a little portion to sit stuff on the shelves, like the new NAS. So with that being said, let's swap over to our NAS view. I actually brought it back here so I can record this live, and we can kind of look at what it's looking like together. And let me get this guy plugged back up. I have it set to auto power on power failure, or power off, whatever you want to say. And let me get it plugged up. You will see it kick in. I don't know if you'll be able to hear anything spinning in the background. If you do, that is the disc. Those are enterprise grade discs, and they do have some chatter to them in this metal case. Alright, the unit is powering on. We will open up Internet Explorer. And while that is booting and we're watching the power usage, we're already up to 114 watts, 133. So far 133 is the peak on this guy. Kind of keep an eye on it. Now, I have one of the videos, and somebody asked me how was I getting the transcoding to work using the Plex app. I don't know if this is true or not. I mean, you have to go in there and choose the display. You know, you can actually select to use one graphical unit or two or whatever it offers on AMD, Intel, and NVIDIA. So there's our peak 133 again. But so far the hard drives haven't spin up. Well, there they go. They're starting to spin up now. So before I had this system, I had a separate Plex server that was running on this old Dell that had, I think, like a 4th-gen Intel. I think it was an i7. It was 4 cores and 8 threads. It may have been a 6th-gen. I can't remember. But nonetheless, it was a 6th-gen, 4th or 6th-gen processor, and I had an NVIDIA card in. And no matter what I could do, I could never get it to actually transcode across it. I guess some limitation that the NVIDIA card has to actually detect that there's a monitor. So there's 142. And a friend of mine told me about these headless display adapters that he used in his. So what this does, it emulates a monitor being plugged in. And I actually have it plugged in. There's 152. I actually have it plugged in. 161. That's the highest I've ever seen on it. So 162, 163. Now this is booting, and so we'll call that 163. That's pretty high. I think that's about as high as it's going to get. But nonetheless, let's pull this up here. So I was asked actually in one of my videos how I got the transcoding to work. I actually have one of these headless display adapters in the display port on the built-on graphics. I put it there because maybe it's out of habit. I don't know if it needs it, but I feel like it does, maybe to keep the video card active, because I ran one test. I pulled it out and the card was still showing, and then I powered it down and brought it back up without the actual headless display port adapter in it, and it didn't show the card anymore. So I think you may need one of these. I'm going to don't quote me on that. So don't say Joe said this is what you need. I just have it in here because I knew in the NVIDIA card I had to have it in order for transcoding to work properly. So what is it hurting? I mean, you may be drawing a milliwatt of power using this. It just emulates a display being plugged into it and keeps the graphics card active. So if you want to get one, if you feel the same way I do, and maybe it's habit, it's like $6 to $15 on Amazon. You can pick you one up and plug it in. What's it gonna hurt? So you can get one of those to put it in if you want to build this unit as well. I had one already, so I'm using it. So what? All right, here we go. All right, so we should be getting pretty close to all the services being going or up and running, and there's 106, 122. We'll give it just another moment to get kind of settled in because we do have 3 VMs and Plex running on this right now. Let's get logged in. I love how I use this authenticator app. Every time I go to use it, it's, yep. Every time I go seem to get into it, it's like right at the last few seconds of timing out. So we're sitting at 84 watts, 87. That's logged in, 114. So guys, this is not, if you're looking for a power sipping machine, if you're looking for wattage usage, this is definitely not a build for you because this is a full-blown NAS running a Minisform AR900 with a 13th gen. 13th gen, make sure I'm telling you right. I've said it 100 times. You're drawing a blank. 13th gen i9 13900 HX. So this is not a processor for the faint of heart. If you're looking for something that's going to sit power, this is not for you. So we'll say we're roughly in the 80 and 90 wattage range on idle. Boot, we saw it get as high as 160 watts, and that's probably expected. We are running 8 hard drives. They were all spinning up and the system was booting. So you're looking at about 80 to 90 watts idle of power. So I think that's pretty decent. So I think the total wattage, if I think I took a picture, was like 245 watts with everything. That includes the battery backup, this NAS, the switch, the Dream Machine, and the various other components that are plugged in, like my Lutron hub, my Raspberry Pi for my light show. What else is in there? Of course, the router for the fiber coming in, their little box. I think that's about it that's sitting on it. So I think I'm drawing altogether 245 watts for this total closet, which is about 100 watt saving. So it's not as high as I thought it was going to be or hoped, but our electricity is cheap here in America, or at least in my region it is. I pay 8 cents roughly per kilowatt hour. And that's it on the wattage. No, it's not. We gotta run this thing at full tilt. Let's bring up our share real quick. Let's get our FIO commands from before, because God knows I can't remember that. That is a long command. We're going to SSH into this guy real quick, and we'll bring it up. I really need to set up an SSH key for this, which would be smarter, and that is something I will do later on. Alright, so we have our command here. We're going to have to write the data to the drive first because I don't believe there's anything on it. I think I've already deleted it out of the, yeah. So let's do our write. We're going to write over to that, and we're probably going to increase the runtime so it gives me some time to switch in between them. So let's increase this runtime. Let's do it for 1 minute. No. Let's do it for 40 seconds. Surely I can get swapped in between the two. Alright. Here we go. Alright, so we've got all this up. We've got our still going to write 400 megabytes, 1 megabyte block size, 32 depth, runtime, number of jobs. So this is 16 gigs worth of data. It's going to be wrote. And the file will be called test. So let's watch our CPU usage, and then I'll swap over to the power draw real quick. Alright. So writing to the disk, let me get admin password put in. Oh, don't you love doing stuff live? Here we go. There we go, writing to the disk. You've seen 110 watts. This is a lot going to that. I mean, that's a pretty hefty load. That's 40 people trying to write 400 meg files to it. $110 watts was our max. Let's go back. You can see our ZFS cache is caching those 16 gigs worth of files. I love how it works. I love how it stores it in memory and then commits it to disk, and it just fluctuates. I mean, it's just, I could be wrong. I don't know if ZFS is the best file system out there. Okay, we have those wrote. Now let's read that data. So this is where it really gets interesting. Let's see how much power this CPU draws, and it really gives a good test of how well this let's actually read that file for 50 seconds. You can see that is full tilt. Let's go over to our power consumption. We are holding steady at 165 watts. So it's not fully throttling up to the total TDP on that processor. We're not overclocking it. This is all default settings. So 167 minus, let's say 84. It's going up to 83 watts where you hit 170 there. So almost 90 watts of power. Let's swap over to that. You can see we're at 99% CPU usage. So, and it backs down. We're done. We're back down to our 84, 83 range. So it's ramping up to about 80. Now I could go in and turn the voltage up on it probably, and see what it could do, but I don't want to overclock it. I don't want to put too much stress and heat coming out of this machine, because I told you the ventilation was one of them. So, all right, guys, that's it on the actual power consumption of this machine. Like I said, if you're looking for something that's going to sip power, you're looking for a NAS that's efficient, this NAS is not for you. Let's talk about Dragonfish for a few minutes. That was recently released on April 24th on my birthday, so I will never forget that. So Dragonfish 24.04, that is my birthday. So that's awesome. It was released. They did add some new features in. One of them was they brought up the ZFS cache. They made it supposedly exactly the same as the core version. I never ran the core version, so it's supposed to be as good as what core used to be. And so far, so good. I did have a little problem when it first came out. I was running the release candidate. I never did do any of the betas, but it was not wanting to relinquish the cache after so long. It actually just kept building and building to exactly I was down to 1 gig of RAM left for the system resources, and the system started freaking out. So I ended up rolling back to the previous release until the new release come out, and now we're running Dragonfish 24.04. And so far so good. It seems that whatever bug that I had picked up had been fixed, or it was fixed before, and it was just a fluke on my end. But they did do some shares. It looks a little bit different when you're adding a share now. What all did they add? Lord, there's allowed guest access. I don't remember that being in. Let's see. Maybe I should have read up on everything, the release notes again. I had read. Let's pull it up. So let's go see the release notes. Version notes. Here we go. So new SMB and NFS status page for active. Oh, that's right. That's right. So they actually, now you can see what's going on inside of your shares. You can actually go and see your SMB sessions. You can see there's one connected. That's where I'm connected to it right now. The locks, what files are open, what shares are being used, and what filter. I'm not sure what filter means, but the creation time of the session. So you can see all of that now, which is really nice. Let's see, new auditing features. Administrators can keep up view of audit logs by SMB clients and other TrueNAS UI authorization and count activity. Blah, blah, blah. New support for free IPA configurations is added. New community features. Scale Sandbox provides similar. I don't use any of that. Developer mode. Dashboard widget for monitoring quick creation of data backup task. Expose NetData UI under reporting. NetData for deeper real-time intro inspection of the system report on the system performance. I want to look at NetData. I may do a video on NetData. I think one's already been done, but I haven't done it yet. Rework the share creation forms for a faster and smoother experience. Cloud backups to improve user experience. Expand ZFF ARC cache memory allocation more updated and behave identical to TrueNAS Core. That's one of the first ones I was talking about. I don't know anything about Core because I never ran it before. So guys, of all the Core fans, apparently now Scale is going to behave identically to TrueNAS Core. I guess it was bad before. I don't know. New privilege levels. And let's see, Linux kernel and NVIDIA drivers updated. Improved performance for Samba shares and directories containing large file counts. Maybe that's why I've seen some of the performance we did. Maybe I should run those tests again and see if there's any difference. And third-party SMB data migration. But one thing they didn't talk about, and maybe it's later on down in the release notes, but one thing I haven't seen anybody report, and I thought it was a really cool feature that they added, was under apps. And they added the actual CPU usage, RAM, and network usage on these guys. So I think that's pretty cool. I always wondered, how did you know how much RAM the app was consuming? What was the CPU usage? I would assume that these are correct. Total core utilization, the RAM. That's sipping on the RAM. That is really nothing for Plex. And then the network input and out. I don't think this is correct, and I do have a bug I'm going to report. If you notice, look at the screen on the workload and the history, it glitches out. So it's got to be some kind of bug they're going to fix. So surely they'll get that fixed. All right, that's kind of it for Dragonfish. Hopefully this is just a small issue. I don't know what it is. It goes from not available and freaks out on it. I don't know. It acts right for a few minutes, but then it just starts acting crazy. And I have noticed it when it's glitching out. I think it's really messing with the apps. I'm not sure because I've been testing out some other ones just to see how it worked, and I don't know if it's a network issue on my end because I'm using the 2.5, and like I talked about, it's going to a 10 gig port, but I got a GBIC that actually supports 2.5, 5, and 10, but it's not negotiating right between the two clients. But I really didn't notice it until I upgraded the other day that the apps are kind of acting a little wonky. But let's get to the ins and outs so we can wrap this video up. Um, if you've never have gotten into this realm of custom building or a home lab, is this a good start to go with? I mean, it depends on, like I said, your level of comfortability. Or, I mean, are you a hands-on learner? Do you want to get in and actually start doing it? Yeah, sure, jump in for it. Or should you buy something used and then and build it first, kind of like I did? This is actually the first new thing I've ever built. Not for that I've ever built, but for myself, probably the most expensive PC/NAS I've ever done. I mean, I've never invested this kind of money in anything. Most of the stuff I get is hand-me-downs. I find it from the recycler, and I'm like, that still got some life. I'm kind of like Hardware Haven, but I wanted something. I wanted a challenge, and it has been a challenge, And some of my builds, the first video, which I'm not going to post, it's kind of pointless because I get halfway through it or I get it done and have it all assembled and go to power it on, and it's quite a disappointment. It doesn't power on. So the first thing was the power supply was bad. It had a bad rail on it. Wouldn't even power the board on. I mean, it wouldn't do anything. And it was the Coolmaster, and it was like the most highly rated SFX power supply out there. And then what else was some of the issues? The whole cooling the M.2 to SATA cards, I could never get those to work because I did a lot of research. I said, does this bifurcation? Is it bifurcation? It's where you go in the BIOS and you divide up the PCI lanes into multiple lanes, or you divide the lanes up into more than one, so you can actually put more devices on that PCI port. And I couldn't find it in the BIOS. There was Auto 8. There was no 8x8, where you could divide it up, and it could be a limitation of this board. But somebody did say, yeah, it supports it, and I bought those on a good faith that it was going to, but I never could find it. And I may take another look at the BIOS, but nonetheless, we ended up getting an HBA card. I wish I could afford a full 16 by HBA card, but it was just a little bit out of my price range. But we're using an 8 by HBA card, and it is performing phenomenally as it is. So we just probably just leave it as it is. And then TrueNAS was quite an adventure to get everything up and running. But once I kind of got the swing of it, what actually this right here, this is probably one of my biggest gripes. But once I figured it out, this bridge is your virtual switch. It's just like Hyper-V. You got a virtual switch. But the only bad thing about it is, and they may add it in one day, and I wish they would. I wish they would make this VLAN aware like it is in Proxmox. So you can set your bridge to VLAN aware, and then it knows to pass the VLAN traffic across it. I'm not sure. Am I talking out of my butt? I don't know. But normally, like in Proxmox, you go in and check this bridge is VLAN aware, and you can pass VLAN traffic across it. You could tag each one of your cards, your virtual NICs, in a particular VLAN, and it would just automatically pass that traffic across. The only way to actually get VLAN traffic to work is to create a VLAN and then put that virtual NIC in that VLAN, or this other bridge or VLAN bridge. So that's my only complaint on that part. If they would just write this to VLAN aware, and then you just tag the virtual machine, like if you go to virtualization here, edit, devices, add a device. If I want to add a NIC, just leave it here, attached to. You only have these two options. It would just be nice if you could actually just say this is VLAN 4, and it would just pass the traffic across without actually having to have a whole nother separate bridge. That's a check mark. Virtualization, they did address one of the issues that I pointed out in the video when you do the display so you can do it on the web. They actually did fix this as well. Now it is no longer in clear text, so if you want to put a secure password on it, go right ahead. I'm assuming this would be secure if you were using HTTPS. I'm just doing it local for right now. And they did fix that as well. That was one of my complaints. Let's see what else. Apps. And so let's talk about apps real quick. In the video where I set up Plex, and it's actually still an issue that I need to report because I don't understand. But anyways, right now TrueCharts is playing catch up to get Dragonfish ready. I guess they're going to. One thing says they're not, and then this article that my colleague pointed out to me because he was looking at it and said they're working on it to catch up. I'm sure they will. So right now, as of Dragonfish, TrueCharts is broken. It will not update correctly, and their website has been down. Something's going on with them. I don't know. You go to their website, that article that I have in that where I'm adding the charts is messed up. So, and maybe they've got it back online by the time you guys see this video, but in Dragonfish, and also have it fixed as well. So I had to switch back to just the TrueNAS versions of Plex. I did have some issues, but this one I did get it up and going. I think where I was actually messing up, let me show you real quick, was the claim token. I don't know if I ever put that in. And then one feature I do like about this better than the other is with the TrueNAS versions of these apps, it actually lets you do host network. So it actually passes across your 192. You can assign it the default web UI port, and you could change that from 32.400 to whatever you wanted it to. But that is the default for Plex. But instead of using the Kubernetes network, which is, let's go to apps, match settings, which is these internal networks, I'm assuming it creates a bridge down to it, and or it just overwrites it and uses this network. It may just turn this off altogether. They did add another feature in here as well, enable integrated metric server. I'm going to turn that on and see what happens. Let's turn it on now. Let's hit save. Why not? This feature was added in. I don't even know what it is yet. I just noticed it the other day. And maybe this will fix the glitching that we're seeing. It's redeploying the Docker, or the Kubernetes. Now it's still glitching. App services back up and running. Well, what do you get? Did it break Plex? I hope it did. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Yeah. That is awesome. Well, we'll give that just a minute and see what happens. Yeah, I ain't lie. It's awesome breaking stuff live. We'll just let that sit and we'll move on. Looks like I'm going to have some fun tonight getting this all set back up. Reporting looks the same, and the system settings look the same. So, all in all, other than the apps bug, Dragonfish seems pretty stable. If you want to upgrade to it, go for it. I think it's pretty good. Pretty good build so far. What else? guys, this has been interesting, man. I've enjoyed doing it. If this had been my first build, I probably would have been a little stressed out because, like I said, getting all of this working, getting Nginx up and going, because Home Assistant, I use my domain to pass. I don't use DuckDNS. I don't use Cloudflare, which I probably should. That's where everybody is going to. They're all about not exposing ports, and I really don't. I expose just one port, other than for my Plex server. I only expose one port, and Nginx redoes it, reverse proxies it all down to the appropriate IP address and port. So that was a little bit of a challenge to get set up. MailCal, super easy. The video, I'll post about it here shortly along with this one. The guy does this fabulous job. This MailCal server, he tells you how to secure it, only allowing certain ports to it, only giving it access that it needs, and taking away the rest. Home Assistant, it was super easy to set up a VM, but the Nginx was the one I really spent the most time on, getting it worked out and working, because of the default config has to be a certain way. And I did find all those, and I will link everything I can in the video. YouTube right now is not letting me put any hyperlinks in, because I haven't hit enough views to do that, or I'm doing it wrong. It tells me I can't. It makes the description red every time I put a link in there to a website. So I have to take out the HTTPS in it and just put it in there so it's not clickable. I guess they think that's because linking to something I'm trying to sell, but it's just actually links to the articles I used. But all in all, guys, I have built a heck of a machine. You've seen the benchmarking videos. If you're looking for a workhorse in virtualization, you're worried about bogging your NAS down, and that's all that's ever. I wanted more. I wanted a powerhouse. I'm not worried about copying files back and forth with this, along with running Plex, running Home Assistant, running my mail server, running my reverse proxy, and running whatever else I want on this. Because you've seen that with 40 jobs, I hit 99% CPU usage. We pretty much maxed it out. We hit roughly about 85 TDP on that processor, which I could go in and turn it up if I wanted to. I could set that up to use more power, but why? I mean, it processed those files in little of no time. It read them. I was getting 15 gigabytes worth, or gigabits worth of data flow on the I/O, and the ops were just insane. So, I mean, let's look at it one more time. Let's pull it back up. I mean, we still got it. So, 174 gigabits or gigabytes on the I/O. I mean, and the IOPS. Let's see. Input-output operations, we averaged 15,000 gigabits per second. So that's on the read. 27,000 is the max. Minimum was 6 gigs. So it is reading off from memory. So you're really not getting a true test of the hard drive, just how well ZFS actually works, right? So what more can a man ask for? I mean, I really can't. This thing is a powerhouse. It is a fantastic build. It's worth every penny that I put into it, because now I don't have that hot room. It's not hot anymore in there. I can actually shut the door if I want to. And the noise. You cannot hear this in the house anymore. It is virtually silent when it's sitting in the pantry. So I achieved. My wife is happy. I've achieved my goal. She's happy. She no longer hears that noise. I'm saving a little bit of money on it, not much. So, but there is one more thing I want to do. There is a Wi-Fi card built on this board, which I believe is in an M.2 slot, and I may pull it apart here in just a minute before I take it back and take that wireless card out, and I may do a video on trying to get 10 gig networking to this thing, so we can plug it up and put 10 gig on this PC and actually see what kind of throughput we're getting on it, and see how ZFS cache works. Can we achieve 10 gigs on this guy file, copying files back and forth? So, well, guys, thank you for joining me on this journey. It has been an interesting one, and It's took me about a month to get it all done because I work full time and been out of town. I've got 2 grandkids. My goodness, I'm a pretty busy man. I'm in the Salvation Army and mayor of my little small town that I live in. So I stay busy, and here I am adding another hobby to what I like to do. Home lab. I'm a home lab enthusiast. And guys, again, thank you so much for tuning in and watching these videos. If you can, like and subscribe. I really would like to continue doing this because this is something that fascinates me. I do this for a living, and I do it at home, and I cannot get enough of it. I have a bunch of old hardware. Maybe we'll spin around and start doing some hardware haven type stuff. How can we use that stuff, repurpose it for other purposes? What can we do with it? I don't know. We'll see. Guys, we'll catch you in the next one. Keep DIYing. Hey, wait just a second. Don't go anywhere. We had absolutely no talks about coffee whatsoever. You seen me drinking it through all these videos, and bet you're wondering what he's drinking. So, MontanaCoffeeTraders.com is where I ordered my coffee. These guys did not promote this video, nor did they send me a bag of coffee to promote for them. I did this all on my own accord, and just wanted to give them a shout out because we went to visit Montana, and especially at Glacier National Park. And guys, that is one of the most beautiful places in America. I have to say, most people have their favorites. This is mine, and if you've never been to Glacier National Park, you have to get up there and go visit that place. But when we were in Montana, we were looking for a great cup of coffee and come across this place in Whitefish and fell in love with it. So started our day with it, ended our day with it. And I came to enjoy the organic Montana morning right here. This, guys, is the best coffee I've ever put in my mouth. And if you're looking for a subscription base, they have it as well, or you can order a single bag. I ordered a single bag because we drink a lot of coffee, and there's another one that we like to drink here locally. It's Gevalia coffee, but guys, Gevalia has no holdings to what this coffee tastes like. It is the best I've ever drank. So I'm going to be kind of sad. I may even actually start a subscription with them to get it coming weekly or monthly, whatever my needs may be. But guys, again, go to CoffeeTraders.com and check these guys out. They are based in Whitefish. They are a small-scale operation, and like I said, cannot beat their coffee. All right, guys, keep DIYing.